The rain came down in sheets that afternoon, turning the dirt road to mud that sucked at Anna's boots like it wanted to keep her there forever. She stood at the edge of the old pecan orchard, watching Juliet's silhouette vanish into the family station wagon, the words still hanging in the air between them. It was just a phase, Anna. We were kids playing pretend. But as the taillights blurred red through the downpour, Anna felt the first crack in her chest, a fracture that would spiderweb through the years, because Juliet's voice had trembled, not with certainty but with the kind of lie that tastes like regret. That was the summer of 2015, in the sleepy hollow of Monroe, Georgia, where the air hung heavy with the scent of blooming jasmine and unspoken sins. Anna had been 22 then, fresh out of community college with a nursing certificate and dreams too big for the clapboard houses lining Elm Street. She worked shifts at the local clinic, bandaging scraped knees and listening to the elderly spin tales of glory days long faded. Juliet was the anomaly in that world. A transplant from Atlanta's polished suburbs, summering at her grandmother's estate on the hill, the kind of place with white columns and secrets buried in the rose garden. They met at the county fair, amid the whirl of cotton candy and Ferris wheel lights, when Juliet's laughter cut through the humid night like a siren's call. Anna remembered the exact moment. Juliet, 23 and radiant in a sundress the color of ripe peaches, had knocked over a stack of hay bales while trying to pet a stubborn goat. Hay dust exploded in a golden cloud, and Anna, volunteering at the first aid tent, had rushed over with a grin she couldn't suppress. "You aiming to start a dust bowl or just auditioning for a Western?" she teased, brushing flecks from Juliet's shoulder. Their eyes locked, and in that suspended beat, the fair's chaos faded, the barkers' shouts, the sizzle of funnel cakes, to leave only the electric hum between them. From there it unraveled like a spool of thread caught in the wind. Stolen afternoons in the orchard, where the pecans dropped like whispered confessions. Juliet would read poetry from a battered volume of Whitman, her voice soft against the rustle of leaves, while Anna traced patterns in the dirt with a stick, sharing stories of her father's moonshine runs and her mother's quiet hymns in the Baptist choir. "You're like the river after a storm," Juliet said once, her fingers interlacing with Anna's. "Wild and deep, carving your own path no matter what." Anna had blushed, heat rising in her cheeks, because no one had ever seen her that way. Not the town that labeled her that tomboy mechanics girl, nor the dates with boys that felt like dressing in someone else's skin. Their first kiss happened under a harvest moon, full and bloated like a secret too heavy to hold. They were hidden in the barn behind Juliet's grandmother's house, the air thick with hay and the faint tang of horse sweat. Juliet had been pacing, agitated after a dinner where her family dissected the latest scandal. A cousin caught in a divorce over unnatural inclinations. "They'd never understand," she'd murmured, stopping to face Anna. And then, without warning, Juliet closed the distance, her lips tentative at first, tasting of sweet tea and salt from unshed tears. Anna froze, then melted, her hands finding Juliet's waist, pulling her closer until the world narrowed to the press of bodies and the thunder of her own pulse. It was love, raw and uncharted, the kind that bloomed fierce in the shadow of prohibition. They mapped each other in the dark, fingers exploring collarbones, breaths mingling in fevered whispers. "I want to build a life here," Anna confessed one night, her head on Juliet's lap as fireflies danced outside the window. "A little place by the creek, with a porch swing and no one telling us who we can be." Juliet's fingers stilled in Anna's hair, her silence a brief eclipse before she smiled. "And we'll have sunflowers everywhere, tall as our dreams." But even then cracks showed. Juliet's phone buzzing with calls from Atlanta, her grandmother's sidelong glances at their lingering touches, the way Juliet's laughter sometimes faltered when talk turned to futures and families. As summer waned, the orchard's bounty turned bitter. Juliet's parents arrived from the city, crisp suits and expectations sharper than switchblades. They hosted barbecues on the lawn, inviting the town's elite, doctors, lawyers, the mayor's kin, while Anna hovered at the edges, serving lemonade in her faded jeans. "Who's the help?" Juliet's mother had asked once, loud enough to carry, and Anna had swallowed the burn, excusing herself to the kitchen where the screen door slammed like a judgment. Juliet pulled away first, in increments so small they masqueraded as coincidence. Late nights became excuses about family obligations. Touches lingered less, replaced by hurried pecks. "It's nothing," she'd insist, eyes averted. "Just the pressure of going back to school." But Anna saw the fear-etching lines around those green eyes, the way Juliet scanned rooms for eavesdroppers. One evening, as cicadas screamed their dirge, Juliet arrived at the orchard unannounced, her face pale as milkweed. "My father's talking marriage," she said flatly, sinking onto a fallen log. "To Charles Wentworth's son. From the bank. It's expected." Anna's stomach plummeted. "Expected? What about us?" She reached for Juliet's hand, but it was snatched away like a live wire. It's been everything," Juliet whispered, tears carving tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "But it's a phase, Anna. A beautiful, reckless phase. I can't throw away my life for it." The words landed like blows, each one hollowing Anna out. Phase. As if their nights tangled in sheets, their promises etched in starlight, could be dismissed like a summer cold. She left that night in the rain, the mud claiming her boots as she trudged home. The fracture widened, but Anna patched it with work. Long shifts at the clinic, evenings tinkering with her father's old truck under the hood light's glare. Months blurred into years. Juliet returned to Atlanta, vanishing into the churn of sorority mixers and law school interviews. Postcards arrived sporadically at first, views of Piedmont Park, scribbled notes about missing the orchard's quiet. Then silence, broken only by the occasional Facebook update. Juliet at galas, arm linked with a faceless man in a tuxedo. Anna rebuilt in fragments. She moved to the outskirts of Monroe, into a shotgun house with creaky floors and a view of the Chattahoochee River. Nursing turned to full-time at the hospital in Macon, where she bandaged wounds deeper than skin, abused victims, addicts chasing ghosts. At 25 she tried dating. A quiet woman from the bookstore, soft-spoken and kind, but their evenings ended in polite handshakes. Anna's heart still moored to that orchard. "You're holding on to something," the woman said gently, and Anna nodded, unable to deny it. By 28, the town had softened its edges for her. She volunteered at the community center, teaching first aid to kids who reminded her of her younger self. Scrappy, eyes wide with unspoken questions. Rumors swirled about Juliet. Engagement announcements in the Atlanta Journal. Whispers of a wedding at the family estate. Anna avoided the society pages, but fate has a cruel penmanship. One crisp October morning, while sorting mail at the post office, she spotted the invitation. Gold embossed, slipped into the wrong box. Juliet Harrington and Elias Beaumont request the honor. Her fingers trembled as she traced the script, the paper cutting like glass. She almost burned it. Instead, she tucked it into her glove compartment, where it festered like an untreated wound. Nights grew longer, sleep elusive, haunted by echoes. Juliet's laughter in the hay, the curve of her neck under moonlight. "Just a phase," Anna muttered to the empty room, but the lie tasted foreign now, worn thin by time. The wedding was set for spring, in the gardens where they'd once hidden kisses behind magnolia blooms. Anna drove the back roads to Macon for shifts that blurred into exhaustion, but the pull was inexorable. She told herself it was closure, a final severing. Deep down, she knew it was masochism dressed as courage. As the date approached, Monroe buzzed with preparations. Floral deliveries clogging Main Street, gowns fitted in hushed parlors. Anna's shift ended early one afternoon, leaving her adrift in the humid air. She found herself at the old fairgrounds, weeds reclaiming the midway, the Ferris wheel a skeletal ghost against the sky. Sitting on the warped bleachers, she pulled out a shoebox from the truck bed, letters, faded photos, a pressed sunflower from that summer. The words blurred as tears fell. "You were my wild river," Juliet had written once. "And I'll drown in you forever." A car horn shattered the reverie. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Eldridge, waving from a pickup. "Anna girl, you coming to the Harrington shindig? Whole town's invited, free champagne and all." Anna forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. Wouldn't miss it. But as she drove home, the river beside the road swelling with spring melt, doubt coiled in her gut. What if Juliet saw her there, amid the lace and toasts? What if those green eyes still held the girl from the orchard, buried under layers of expectation? Or worse, what if they didn't? The invitation burned a hole in her pocket that week. a talisman she couldn't discard. She ironed her one good dress, a simple navy sheath from a thrift shop in Macon, and practiced smiles in the mirror until they felt genuine. Friends noticed the shadow under her eyes, the way her laughter rang hollow at the diner. "You okay, hon?" her coworker Lila asked over coffee, stirring sugar with unnecessary vigor. Anna shrugged. "Old ghosts, that's all." Spring arrived in a riot of azaleas, petals carpeting the roads like confetti for a parade no one wanted. The Harrington estate sprawled atop its hill, white columns gleaming under strings of lanterns. Cars lined the drive, Cadillacs and Suburbans, polished to a sheen that mocked Monroe's dust. Anna parked at the fringe, her old Ford a relic among the luxury. She slipped through the gates, the murmur of voices rising like smoke, small talk laced with envy, the clink of crystal masking sharper judgments. The ceremony tent was a vision. White roses climbing trellises, chairs draped in silk. Anna took a seat at the back, half hidden by a potted fern, her heart a drumbeat in her ears. Then Juliet appeared, ethereal in ivory lace, arm looped through her father's. Elias waited at the altar, blandly handsome in his tales, oblivious to the undercurrents. But it was Juliet's face that undid Anna, serene yes, but with a tightness around her mouth, eyes scanning the crowd like a prisoner counting exits. The officiant began, words droning about eternal bonds and sacred promises. Then Juliet's vows. "Elias, you are the steady harbor I've always sought, the quiet strength that anchors my soul. In your arms I find the wild rivers of my youth tamed into something lasting, a love that carves paths through the storms we've yet to face. I'll drown in this forever, building sunflowers along the banks of our shared tomorrow." Anna's breath caught, a vice clamping her chest. Those words, her words plucked from letters yellowed in a shoebox, twisted into this facsimile of fidelity. Wild rivers. Drown forever. Sunflowers. The theft was intimate, a plagiarism of the heart. She gripped the chair arms, knuckles whitening as applause rippled through the tent. Juliet's gaze swept the assembly, locking for a fractured second on Anna's hiding place. No recognition, or perhaps none she could afford. The kiss sealed it, chaste, performative, and Anna slipped out, the air outside thick with betrayal's aftertaste. She stumbled to her truck, engine roaring to life as tears blurred the taillights ahead. The road unwound like a vein, carrying her toward the river, where the current whispered of phases long past and loves that refused to fade. The drive home was a haze of sodium lights and regret, the Chattahoochee a silver ribbon under the rising moon. Anna pulled over at the old covered bridge, the one where locals swore ghosts lingered from Civil War crossings. She killed the engine, letting the night's chorus, crickets, distant frogs fill the cab. The vows echoed in her skull, each phrase a barb. Steady harbor, tamed rivers. Juliet had mined their history for this performance, excavating Anna's devotion to prop up a life built on sand. Sleep evaded her that night, the house creaking like an old man's confessions. By dawn resolve hardened. She couldn't let it end like this, a silent erasure, her love reduced to borrowed rhetoric. At the hospital, her hand shook through 4 lines and chart notes, Lila shooting concerned glances. "You look like you wrestled a gator and lost," the older nurse said, pressing a thermos of chicory coffee into Anna's palm. "Spill it, sugar." Anna hesitated, then the dam cracked. Words tumbled out, the orchard, the letters, the wedding's cruel echo. Lila listened without interruption, her face a map of shared sorrows. "That girl's a fool for the chains she wears," she said finally, voice low. "But you? You're free to cut yours. Don't let her ghost keep you moored." The advice lingered as Anna drove to Monroe that evening, the invitation crumpled in her fist. The reception spilled onto the lawn, jazz quartet lilting under lanterns, guests swirling in clusters of taffeta and cologne. She bypassed the valet, weaving through shadows to the rose garden's edge, their old sanctuary now festooned with fairy lights. Juliet stood there, alone for a breath, gown pooling like spilled milk, a champagne flute dangling from manicured fingers. "Anna." The name escaped on a sigh, Juliet turning with the grace of someone who'd rehearsed this dread. Up close the facade cracked. Mascara smudged faintly, lips pressed thin. "You came. Couldn't miss the show." Anna's voice was steady, surprising even herself. She stepped closer, the thorns of nearby bushes snagging her hem like warnings. Those vows. They sounded familiar. Like pages ripped from a book you swore to burn. Juliet's flute trembled, liquid sloshing gold. I had to say something real. Elias. He deserves that much. But it was you in my head always. The only truth I know. Her eyes, those verdant pools, brimmed with the unsaid. The orchard's ghosts, the rain-soaked goodbye. Anger surged, hot and clarifying. Real? You call stealing my words real? You left me in the mud, called us a phase, and now you parade my heart on your sleeve for a man who'll never know the half of you. Anna's hands balled at her sides, nails biting palms. What phase, Juliet? The one where we planned sunflowers and forever? Or the one where you chose their approval over us? The garden seemed to hold its breath, petals unfurling in silent witness. Juliet reached out, fingers grazing Anna's arm, electric as the first touch years ago. I was scared. My family. The town. They'd bury me alive if they knew. And you deserved more than hiding in barns and back roads. A sob broke free, raw and unbidden. But God, Anna, I never stopped. Every gala, every date, it was you I pictured in the dark. The confession hung a bridge or a noose. Anna pulled away, the contact searing. You think that's enough? To whisper my name in your regrets while you build a life on lies. Footsteps approached, laughter trailing a cluster of bridesmaids, and Juliet stiffened, mask slipping back into place. Go, she murmured, voice fracturing. Before they see. Anna turned, thorns tearing fabric as she fled, the night swallowing her steps. But the encounter ignited something dormant, a spark against the damp of resignation. Days blurred into a fever of avoidance. Anna threw herself into work, volunteering extra hours at the community center, teaching self-defense to young women who carried their own scars. Hit from the hips, she demonstrated to a circle of wide-eyed teens. Not the shoulders. Make it count. Their gratitude was a balm, small victories against the larger defeat. Yet Juliet's words festered. The only truth I know. Late nights, Anna pored over the letters, tracing ink faded to ghosts. One, dated September 2015, read, If love is a phase, then let it phase me into oblivion. You're my wild, Anna, and I'll chase that current till it claims me. Macon streets offered no solace, but chance did. At a dive bar on the riverfront, neon buzzing Pearl's Place. Anna nursed a bourbon, the wood counter scarred like her resolve. A woman slid onto the stool beside her. Mid-30s, cropped hair silvered at the temples, laugh lines framing eyes like polished oak. Rough day? She asked, signaling the bartender. Rough decade. Anna's retort drew a chuckle warm as hearth fire. Her name was Reese, a carpenter from Vermont who'd relocated for the milder winters and cheaper lumber. They talked till closing. Reese's tales of building tiny homes for queer runaways. Anna's guarded stories of Monroe's underbelly. No pressure, just the ease of shared margins. You're carrying a load, Reese observed as they stepped into the muggy night. But it suits you. Makes the light brighter when it breaks through. Anna walked her to the truck, a tentative brush of knuckles lingering. For the first time in years, possibility flickered, fragile as a moth's wing. Back in Monroe, whispers followed. The wedding's glow faded, replaced by gossip. Juliet's honeymoon cut short by family matters. Elias's stoic silences at the bank. Anna ignored it, focusing on the center's spring fair. Booths of handmade crafts, kids' faces painted with butterflies. But fate, that meddlesome scribe, intervened. A package arrived at her door. No return address, brown paper tied with twine. Inside, the sunflower-pressed letter, and a note in Juliet's hand. I lied to save us both. But the phase never ended. Meet me at the orchard midnight. G. The clock ticked mercilessly, each second a pulse of weariness. Anna paced her porch, the river murmuring temptations of what-ifs. Reese texted, a simple thinking of you. Grounding her. At 11 she grabbed keys, the Ford's engine growling protest as she navigated moonlit back roads. The orchard loomed, pecans whispering in the breeze, a spectral reunion. Juliet waited by their log, silhouette etched against the stars, no gown now, just jeans and a hoodie, vulnerability stripped bare. You came. Relief flooded her voice, edged with fear. Against my better judgment. Anna halted paces away, arms crossed like armor. What is this, Juliet? Another vow you'll rewrite. She stepped forward, moonlight gilding her tears. No more lies. Elias knows everything. He walked out this morning. Said he couldn't compete with a ghost. A bitter laugh escaped. And the family? They're furious, cutting ties like I'm diseased. But it's freedom, Anna. Terrifying, but ours if you'll have it. The air thickened, charged with the weight of roads not taken. Anna searched those green eyes, finding the girl from the fair. Not the polished society wife, but the poet who chased fireflies. You broke me, she whispered, voice cracking. Twice now. What makes this different? Because I'm done pretending. Juliet closed the gap, hands cupping Anna's face, thumbs brushing away salt. You're not a phase. You're the current that carried me here. Their lips met, hesitant then fervent, the orchard bearing witness to a reclamation. But dawn brought clarity's cold edge. As they parted, tangled in afterglow on the log, Juliet's phone shattered the hush, her mother's voice shrill through the speaker. You've shamed us all. Don't come back. Juliet silenced it, but the tremor in her hands betrayed the cost. Anna drove her home, the silence companionable yet fraught. At the shotgun house, coffee brewed black as resolve. What now? Juliet asked, tracing Anna's knuckles. We build, Anna said, echoing old dreams. Sunflowers and all. But slow. No rushing the river. Weeks unfolded in tentative stitches. Juliet crashed on Anna's couch, job hunting in Macon. Paralegal work at a firm that championed civil rights. Anna introduced her to Reese over burgers at Pearl's, the three of them laughing till sides ached. Barriers dissolving in shared stories. Monroe's tongues wagged. The scandal of Juliet's divorce filing, the Harrington's frosty exile. But Anna walked taller, her nursing rounds infused with quiet defiance. Yet shadows lingered. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, Juliet confessed over wine. I saw my reflection in Elias's eyes, not love but obligation. And in yours. Home. Anna pulled her close, the storm outside mirroring the one they'd weathered. Home's what we make, she murmured. Phases be damned. The community center's fair arrived. A tapestry of redemption. Anna manned the first aid booth, Juliet beside her, handing out water with a smile that lit the midway. Kids swarmed, oblivious to histories demanding face paints and hayrides. Reese arrived with a carved birdhouse. For your sunflower empire. And the trio watched fireworks bloom, colors fracturing the night. In that pyrotechnic glow, Anna felt the fracture heal, not seamlessly, but with the strength of kintsugi gold. Juliet's hand found hers, fingers interlacing like roots seeking soil. The town watched, judgment softening in the face of unapologetic joy. No perfect ending but a beginning carved from bitterness. A testament to loves that outlast phases, rivers that carve canyons through stone. Summer returned to Monroe like an old flame, uninvited but insistent, the heat wave pressing down on the town with the weight of unresolved reckonings. Anna and Juliet navigated their fragile new rhythm with the caution of survivors charting debris-strewn waters. Mornings began with coffee on the porch, steam curling like tentative promises, while evenings dissolved into quiet domesticity. Juliet chopping vegetables for stir-fries learned from YouTube. Anna tuning the old radio to bluegrass stations that filled the house with fiddle cries and banjo plucks. It was ordinary, achingly so, and in those mundane beats, Anna glimpsed the life they'd once sketched in orchard dust. But normalcy was a veneer, thin as the humid air. Juliet's divorce proceedings dragged through Macon's courts, a gauntlet of depositions and affidavits that unearthed every buried shame. Adultery, the lawyer termed it dryly, though the infidelity was emotional, a ghost affair with the past. Elias's family lawyered up fiercely, painting Juliet as unstable, a Harrington black sheep unfit for their pedigreed fold. Whispers infiltrated Monroe's diners and pews. Always knew she was flighty. The mayor's wife clucked over bridge cards. Running off with that garage girl, scandalous. Anna bore the brunt vicariously, fielding sidelong stares at the hospital, patients' kin murmuring behind hands. Heard your friends causing a stir. An elderly gentleman grumbled during a blood pressure check. She bit back retorts, channeling the ire into longer shifts, her scrubs a uniform of endurance. Reese became anchor, their impromptu carpentry lessons in the backyard, hammering bird feeders from reclaimed pine. A release valve for the tension. Nail it straight, Reese advised, steady hands guiding Anna's. Life's crooked enough without you adding to it. One sweltering July afternoon, the storm broke literally and figuratively. Anna arrived home to find Juliet on the porch swing, knees drawn up, a manila envelope clutched like a grenade. They settled, she said, voice hollow. I get nothing, no alimony, no share of the estate. My parents. They testified against me. The words landed flat, but her eyes betrayed the maelstrom. Fury laced with the old fear, the specter of rejection that had driven their first fracture. Anna sank beside her, the swing creaking in protest. And she kept her tone even, though her pulse thrummed with protective rage. And I'm free. Juliet's laugh was brittle, cracking into sobs. Free to be the pariah. Free to wonder if I torched everything for a porch swing and regret. She buried her face in Anna's shoulder, the envelope fluttering to the boards like a discarded vow. Anna held her through the deluge, rain commencing in earnest, pattering on the tin roof like accusatory fingers. You didn't torch it, she murmured into damp hair. You claimed it. That's the difference. That night, as thunder rolled distant threats, they made love with a desperation born of survival. Bodies mapping scars, breath sinking in defiant rhythm. Afterward, tangled in sheets scented with lavender from Juliet's pilfered garden sachets. Anna traced the constellation of freckles on her lover's shoulder. Remember the fair, she whispered. You knocked over those bales and I thought, this girl's trouble worth chasing. Still do. Juliet turned, green eyes luminous in the lamplight. And I thought you were the first person who saw me, not the name, not the expectations. Just me. Their kiss was slow, sealing the pact. No more phases, only progression. Emboldened, Juliet enrolled in night classes at the community college, literature and social work, a bridge to advocacy for the marginalized she'd once fled. Anna cheered from the sidelines, quizzing her over flashcards at the kitchen table, the house filling with the rustle of highlighters and the scent of Juliet's chamomile tea. Reese joined them for game nights, her dry Vermont wit puncturing the bubble of intensity. Y'all are disgustingly wholesome. Past the monopoly. I'm bankrupting this love nest. Yet the town's undercurrent simmered, erupting at the county fair's return, the very stage of their origin. Booths hawked funnel cakes and quilt raffles, the Ferris wheel groaning back to life under strings of bulbs. Anna volunteered again. First aid tint a hub of scraped elbows and lost children. Juliet manned a literacy booth, reading Whitman to wide-eyed kids, her voice carrying on the breeze like an invitation. But midway through, confrontation arrived in pearls and peroxide. Mrs. Harrington, Juliet's mother, sweeping through the crowd like a frigate in full sail, husband trailing in subdued defeat. Juliana Marie, she hissed, gripping Juliet's arm, the childhood name a weapon. This farce ends now. Come home, apologize, and salvage what's left of your dignity. Onlookers pretended disinterest, ears pricked like hounds. Juliet wrenched free, chin lifting in an echo of Anna's resolve. My name's Juliet now, mother. And home's where they see you whole, not half erased to fit your mold. The words hung electric, drawing gasps. Mrs. Harrington's face crumpled, not in fury but fracture. A mother's grief masquerading as scorn. You're throwing away your birthright for this. She gestured vaguely at Anna, who had materialized at Juliet's side, stance unyielding. For love, Anna interjected softly, hand finding Juliet's. The kind that doesn't bargain with souls. The elder Harringtons retreated, defeated by the crowd's subtle shift, sympathy tilting toward the defiant pair. Later, under the Ferris wheel's arc, Juliet leaned into Anna, whispering, I felt you before I saw you, like the current pulling me under. The fair's lights spun on, a carousel of forgiveness and fracture. Reese found them there, arms laden with corn dogs. Heard the showdown. You two are fixing to be local legend. Laughter bubbled, genuine and freeing, as they boarded the wheel, cabin swaying gentle into the night sky. From that vantage, Monroe sprawled benevolent, lights twinkling like fireflies, the river a dark vein pulsing life. This is our phase now, Juliet said, head on Anna's shoulder. The one that lasts. Autumn gilded the orchard in amber, leaves drifting like confetti from a hard-won parade. Juliet's classes intensified, papers on queer theory stacking beside the bed. Her passion a beacon Anna admired from afar. Work at the center expanded. Juliet co-facilitating support groups for LGBTQ youth smuggled in from rural outposts, their stories mirrors of her own suppressed youth. They remind me of us, she told Anna after one session, voice thick. Hiding in barns, dreaming of cities that don't judge. Anna nodded, stirring chili on the stove, the aroma weaving through the house like comfort. And now you're showing them the way out. Pride swelled, tempered by the knowledge that paths weren't linear. Setbacks lurked in judgmental glances, in the Harrington's radio silence broken only by a curt check from a cousin. Mother's ill. Consider reconciliation. Juliet declined, but the call lingered, a hook in old wounds. That weekend, they escaped to Reese's workshop on the river's bend. Hammers and saws, a symphony of creation. They built a greenhouse kit, glass panes fogging with their breaths, for the sunflowers Juliet craved. Roots deep, faces to the sun. Reese quipped, measuring lumber. Like you two stubborn weeds. As panels clicked into place, Anna felt the structure mirror their bond. Transparent, resilient, angled toward light. But evening brought intrusion. A pickup rumbling up, Elias Beaumont unfolding from the cab, face gaunt under the brim of his hat. Need to talk, he said to Juliet, voice rough as gravel. Anna tensed, but Juliet waved her inside. It's okay. Through the window, silhouettes argued in the gloaming, gestures sharp, then softening. Elias left after 20 minutes, truck kicking dust. Juliet emerged, drained but unbowed. He wanted closure. Said he loved the idea of me, not the reality. And he forgives the ghost. She managed a wry smile. Told him the ghost's flesh and blood now. Anna enveloped her, the embrace a bulwark. You're no one's idea. You're the realest thing I've known. Winter crept in on nor'easters, frosting the river's edge and blanketing Monroe in rare snow. The greenhouse stood sentinel, sunflowers dormant but promising. Juliet's first group session post-holidays drew a full house. Teens from farms and trailer parks, voices tentative then torrenting tales of rejection. Anna dropped off Coco afterward, lingering in the doorway to watch Juliet facilitate. Your love isn't a phase, it's your compass. Follow it, even when the world's fog rolls in. One boy, barely 16, clutched Anna's sleeve as they filed out. You her? He trailed off, cheeks flaming. She nodded. Yeah. And it's the best map I ever followed. His grin was a spark igniting hope. Reese hosted a solstice gathering, fire pit crackling, mulled cider steaming, where stories swapped like currency. Came south for the accents, Reese confessed, stayed for the grit. Juliet shared her orchard genesis, voice steady, earning nods and toasts. Anna, quieter, spoke of the clinic's quiet heroes, patients fighting invisible wars, finding grace in small mercies. As flames danced, Juliet leaned in. This us them, it's the human part. The messy, mending heart of it all. Anna kissed her temple, snowflakes melting on lashes. The year turned, phases yielding to permanence. In a world that bent, grudgingly, to love's unyielding arc. Spring's thaw brought not renewal but reckoning. The river swelling with meltwater that mirrored the undercurrents threatening to sweep Juliet under. Her mother's illness, a stroke whispered through kin networks, arrived via a reluctant aunt's call, laced with ultimatum. Come alone, Juliana. Make amends before it's too late. Juliet paced the kitchen, phone cordless in her grip, Anna watching from the table where nursing journals lay open like ignored prophecies. It's not about forgiveness, Juliet said finally, sinking into a chair. It's control. One last grasp at the daughter they engineered. Her voice wavered, the old fracture lines glowing under pressure. Anna reached across, palm upturned, then let go. You've built something truer here. But blood's pull was tidal. Juliet drove to Atlanta solo, the Ford loaned like a talisman, returning 2 days later hollow-eyed, a hospice care packet in her lap. She's fading fast. Demands I end this delusion for inheritance scraps. The words curdled. Inheritance a euphemism for shackles. Anna brewed tea, Chamomile's calm a counterpoint to the storm. And you? I told her no. That my delusion's the happiest I've been. Tears traced silent paths. She cried, not for me but the legacy lost. Father just stared like I'd evaporated. Juliet curled into Anna that night, body a question mark against the sheets. Dawn found them whispering plans. Boundaries, not bridges. Grief without surrender. The community center became refuge. Groups swelling with spring's restless energy. Juliet channeled the ache into advocacy. Guest speaking at Macon's Pride events. Small affairs in community halls. Rainbows fluttering defiantly against gray skies. Anna attended one, front row, pride swelling as Juliet took the mic. Love isn't a phase, it's the phase society fears most. The one that upends tables, demands seats at feasts we've been denied. Applause thundered, a young woman in the crowd. Tattooed wrists, defiant pixie cut, approaching after. You give me guts to tell my folks. Reese's greenhouse bloomed riotous, sunflowers nodding like sentinels. They harvested seeds one humid afternoon. Hands dusted gold, laughter punctuating the labor. Plant these deep, Reese instructed, and watch them tower over weeds. Juliet pocketed a handful, eyes distant. Like us. But weeds encroached. Elias's closure call had masked malice. Weeks later, anonymous letters arrived at the center, vitriol scrawled in block print. Pervert poison. Leave our town. Juliet found one taped to her locker, the ugliness seeping like ink. Harrington money talking, she muttered, crumpling it. Anna's fury ignited protective. Filing reports, rallying supporters, but the poison spread, parents pulling kids from sessions, whispers turning to cold shoulders at the grocer. One evening as cicadas tuned their requiem, confrontation crystallized. Mrs. Eldridge, Anna's neighbor of decades, porch chats over sweet tea, shared recipes, confronted her at the mailbox. That woman's trouble, Anna girl. Dragging you into her mess. Think of your standing. The word stung, maternal concern twisted into blade. Anna's retort was steel. My standing's in truth, Mrs. E. Not in mirrors that lie. The door slammed that night, Juliet inside, face ashen. I heard. I'm sorry, your world's shrinking because of me. Anna pulled her close, the embrace fierce. Our world. And it's expanding, thorns and all. Summer's zenith forced a pilgrimage. Juliet's vigil at the hospice. Anna in tow despite protests. Atlanta's sprawl choked with traffic and pretense. The facility a sterile limbo of beeps and bleach. Mrs. Harrington lay diminished. Tubes a lattice of fragility. Eyes sharpening at their clasped hands. You, she rasped, gaze on Anna. The phase. No, Juliet corrected gently. The forever. The elder woman's hand twitched, not in reach but release, a sigh escaping as if unburdening ghosts. She passed at midnight, monitors flatlining into silence. Juliet grieved in waves. Rage at the wasted years, sorrow for the love withheld. Anna held space, driving them home through pre-dawn fog, the river welcoming like an old friend. Funeral was a farce. Black veils and veiled barbs, kin circling like vultures over the will's leavings, a pittance to Juliet, the estate funneled to cousins untainted. Father offered a stiff handshake, words clipped. Your choice. Juliet met his eyes, unyielding. Our choice. Monroe received them with wary warmth, the scandal's edge blunted by time's grind. Reese organized a memorial of their own. Backyard fire, stories swapped of the woman Juliet might have been. To phases ended. Reese toasted, cider raised. Laughter mingled with tears, catharsis in the flames. Autumn deepened resolve. Juliet's paralegal job solidified, clerking for a firm litigating discrimination suits, her insights gold in depositions. Anna advanced to charge nurse, mentoring Lila's replacement, a fresh-faced idealist from Oregon. Their house evolved. Bookshelves groaning with queer lit, walls hung with sunflower prints from Reese's carvings. Yet winter's chill unearthed one final ghost. A letter from Elias, not venom but vulnerability. I kept the vows thinking they'd bind her, but they were yours all along. Be happy. Juliet burned it in the fire pit, ashes scattering on wind. They were ours, she corrected, Anna's arms her harbor. As snow dusted the greenhouse they planted anew, seeds from harvest, promises in soil. The town watched, judgments mellowing into acceptance's quiet nod. Love, Anna realized, wasn't conquest but cultivation. Patient, persistent, blooming defiant against frost. The new year dawned crisp, Monroe's river iced at edges, a fragile scrim over depths that ran eternal. Anna and Juliet marked it quietly. Midnight kiss on the porch, champagne fizzing like unspoken toasts to endurance. Resolutions weren't scrawled on paper but etched in action. Juliet shadowing attorneys on landmark cases, Anna spearheading wellness workshops at the center, weaving mental health threads into the fabric of rural lives. Reese's tiny home project gained traction. A cluster of cabins for queer youth, funded by grants Juliet helped secure. The three of them breaking ground on a plot by the Chattahoochee. But progress was a river with snags. Spring floods swelled the banks, mirroring the resurgence of old tides. A local pastor, firebrand from the Baptist steeple Anna's mother once filled, launched a sermon series on biblical bonds, pamphlets distributed at markets decrying unnatural unions as societal rot. One landed on their doorstep, scripture bolded like accusations. Juliet laughed it off over breakfast, but Anna saw the flinch, the echo of childhood pews where love was sermonized into submission. "We fight it," Anna said, folding the paper into origami crane wings clipped. Not with anger but presence. They volunteered double at Pride events, tabling with resources, faces of quiet revolution. A teen from the group, the tattooed one from Macon, returned with her girlfriend, hands linked, stories spilling. "Your talks gave us spine," she said. Juliet's smile was luminous, the cycle completing. Summer's heat baked the cabin's frames, sweat equity binding their makeshift family. Reese wielded the saw like a conductor, Juliet the planner sketching elevations, Anna the medic patching blisters and strains. Evenings ended at Pearl's pool, cues clacking, locals thawing. A nod from the bartender, a shared stool without side eye. "Y'all built something," he grunted one night, sliding free drafts. "Take stones." Yet betrayal's shadow lengthened. Juliet's cousin, the will's beneficiary, surfaced with a proposition. Contest the pittance, claim emotional duress from the divorce. "Family first." He schmoozed over coffee in Macon, eyes on the river view. Juliet declined, voice ice. "Family's what we choose, not inherit." He left smirking, but weeks later sabotage struck. A zoning complaint stalling the cabins, anonymous source citing moral concerns. Fury crested. Anna paced the kitchen, Juliet on the phone with lawyers, Reese storming in with blueprints rolled like battle flags. "Bastards think paper cuts deeper than we do?" Reese growled. They rallied, petitions circulated at the diner, editorials in the Monroe Gazette penned by Juliet under pseudonym. The town divided but allies emerged. Mrs. Eldridge contrite, baking pies for fundraisers, the mayor's aide quietly expediting permits. The hearing was a crucible, wood-paneled chamber stuffy with agendas. Juliet testified, voice steady as oak. "These homes aren't rebellion, they're refuge. For kids like I was, dreaming beyond judgment." Anna sat front, heart-pounding pride. The board ruled in favor, complaint dismissed, applause rippling, tentative then full. Victory's afterglow was bittersweet. Driving home, Juliet confessed over the dash. "I almost caved once. Back when Mother called. Thought folding might mend something." Anna squeezed her thigh. "And now? Now I know mending's in the building." They made love that night fierce, bodies a testament to claimed ground. Autumn harvested abundance. Cabins framed, first residents touring, wide-eyed escapees from Bible Belt bastions. Juliet's advocacy bloomed into a fellowship, paid gig traveling Georgia circuits. Anna's workshops expanded, incorporating Juliet's stories, threads of resilience woven tight. Winter brought introspection. Snow blanketed the sunflower stalks, brittle centuries. Reese hosted Yule again, circle widening, center kids, cabin hopefuls, even Lila with her new beau. Stories circled the fire. Fractures and fusions, phases transcended. Juliet raised a mug. "To the currents that carry us home." But dawn after brought Anna's own reckoning. A clinic patient, elderly, fading from dementia, grasped her hand. "You remind me of my sister. Loved fierce, lost to whispers. Tell her kin she was right." The echo lingered, prompting a drive to the family plot. Anna kneeling at her mother's stone. I found my river, Mama. Hope heaven's got room for wild ones. Juliet met her there, arms enfolding. Always. They planted a sunflower seed in the thawed earth. Promise against permanence. Spring cycled eternal. Floods receding to reveal fertile banks. The cabins opened, ribbons snipped amid cheers, first keys handed with tears. Anna watched Juliet embrace a newcomer. A lanky boy with haunted eyes, whispering welcome. Pride swelled, tempered by the knowledge. Battles lingered but victories compounded. One evening, orchard-bound with picnic basket, they spread a blanket under pecans dropping like blessings. Remember the rain? Anna asked, uncorking wine. Juliet nodded, leaning back. The goodbye that birthed this. Their kiss deepened, world fading to rustle and river song. No vows spoken but lived in every choice, every clasp. Monroe slumbered below. A town learning tolerance's slow grace. Their love its quiet catalyst. Phases, Anna mused, weren't endings but evolutions. Rivers reshaping canyons. Love's carving eternities from stone. The wheel turned full circle that summer. Monroe's fairground alight once more. Ferris wheel creaking under the weight of histories revisited. Anna and Juliet wandered the midway hand in hand, unhurried. The crowd parting with nods rather than stares. A subtle shift earned in courtrooms and campfires. Cotton candy dissolved on tongues. Laughter bubbling as Juliet dared the ring toss, missing spectacularly. Rusty, she grinned, and Anna pulled her close, the press of bodies a declaration amid the whirl. Reese joined them, arms slung casual over shoulders, the trio a unit forged in flood and frost. Bought the goat exhibit, she deadpanned, naming him after that pastor, fire and brimstone included. Chuckles rippled, easing into the night's easy rhythm. But under the lights, Anna caught Juliet's gaze drifting, to the hay bales stacked neat, the first aid tent where it began. Full circle, Juliet murmured, fingers tightening. Yeah. Anna's reply was soft, laced with the ache of paths traversed. They boarded the wheel at closing, cabin ascending slow, town shrinking to twinkles below. Think we'd do it again? Juliet asked, head on Anna's lap. In a heartbeat. Every fracture led here. The view stretched infinite, river a silver thread binding past to present. Autumn deepened into purpose. Juliet's fellowship extended. Invitations to panels in Atlanta. Voices like hers amplifying in halls once hostile. Anna shadowed when shifts allowed, pride a constant companion. The center thrived. Groups spilling into satellite spots in neighboring counties. Youth finding mirrors and mentors unbroken. Yet human frailty intruded. Reese, ever the rock, confessed over beers at Pearl's. Lungs acting up, smokers' revenge from younger follies. Biopsy loomed, a shadow on their sunlit days. They rallied. Anna pulling clinic strings for top docs. Juliet drafting grant letters for treatment funds. Waiting room vigils bound them tighter, Reese's hand in theirs. If it's bad, scatter me in the river. Let me flow with your currents. It was benign, a scare not sentence, but the brush with impermanence sharpened edges. Life's phases aren't linear, Reese said post-clearance, hammering a cabin porch. They're loops, circling back stronger. Juliet nodded, chisel in hand. Ours loop through hell to here. Winter wrapped gentle, snow a hush over the greenhouse where sunflowers slumbered. Anna's promotion to supervisor brought paperwork mountains, but fulfillment in training new nurses. Hands guiding IVs, hearts mentoring resilience. One recruit, a soft-spoken Vermonter like Reese, bonded over shared margins. Your story's legend up north. Gutsy love in the sticks. Spring unfurled verdant, cabins bustling with lives reclaimed. Residents gardening communal plots, sunflowers nodding approval. Juliet organized a harvest fest, tables groaning under pies and potlucks, the town trickling in. Mrs. Eldridge with her famous cobbler, even the pastor's wife tentative with a casserole. Heard it's good folk here, she mumbled, and Juliet accepted with grace untainted by grudge. The event peaked in storytelling circle, flames crackling as tales wove. A teen's coming out triumph, a mother's belated apology. Anna spoke last, voice steady. Love asked me to bend, then break, then rebuild. I chose the rebuild, messy mine. Applause rose, Juliet's eyes shining pride. But closure's final act arrived unbidden. Juliet's father, gaunt from solitude, appeared at their door one drizzly dawn, hat in hands, eyes downcast. "Your mother's ring," he said, extending a velvet box. "She'd want you to have it." For the daughter she couldn't fully see. "No, please, just surrender." Juliet accepted, fingers trembling. "Thank you. For this." He nodded, lingering. "I was wrong. About phases, about you." The admission hung, bridge extended late but earnest. They parted with a hug, awkward as new skin. Summer crested in orchard idyls, picnics under pecans, letters revived. Not borrowed vows but fresh verses. "You're the phase that phased out fear," Juliet penned one twilight. Anna replied in action, proposing not with rings but ringside. A commitment ceremony at the fairgrounds, small circle of chosen kin. The day dawned golden, hay bales artfully scattered. Ferris wheel stilled witness. Reese officiated, voice gravel rough. "Do you vow to navigate currents, phases, floods?" "We do," they chorused, rings, simple gold bands sliding home. Kisses sealed under cheers, the wheels shadow a halo. Monroe marked it quietly, Gazette notice, diner toasts, but the ripple spread, inspiring a youth's brave email, a neighbor's rainbow flag. Anna and Juliet honeymooned local. River cabin rented from Reese, days in kayaks, nights in hammocks, bodies and souls synced. Years folded forward, phases layering like river sediment. Cabins expanded, Juliet's book, a memoir of orchard origins, published to quiet acclaim. Anna led clinic outreach, bridging rural gaps. Reese retired to tinker, her adopted family her legacy. In quiet moments, orchard-bound, Anna reflected. Betrayal's sting faded to scar, society's chains to memory. Love, she knew, was no phase but the constant, the wild river carving freedom from stone, vows not stolen but shared, eternities built hand in hand. And in Monroe's gentle hollow under jasmine-scented skies, they flowed on, human, whole, unyielding.